this is kind of a tough message, but just for me personally, I don't know how this is going to go, so I might be crying here soon. I'm kind of crying already. Spirit called me out to the lake where I go walking. I was just out there yesterday, and it doesn't really matter the details of why I went back, but for an unrelated reason, Spirit brought me back out today to check on something. And the thing that I went out to check on was nothing. I mean, it was good. It turned out fine. And this is in a natural place where, you know, it's not built up. And, you know, the free critters can roam. And so as I was walking on from what I was checking on, I noticed a deer out on the ice and a crow out there. And I mean, I knew from being out there yesterday that the ice was probably safe by today because it was pretty thick yesterday. And then I saw somebody else had already gone out, and that, like, the crow out there on the ice with the deer that was just sitting on the ice. I already had, like, intuition buzzers going off, and so I went out there carefully. There's some things you should do if you ever go out on the ice, especially ice you're not familiar with. I had a stick to like probe the ice in front of me, especially because it was snow covered, and you don't want to just walk. It can be very dangerous. And also it was a thick, stout stick, so you know, if I fell through the ice, I could use it to help pull me back out. Things like that. Anyway, I wasn't afraid of falling through the ice because I knew someone else had already been out there with a dog. So, in any case, I went out, and the closer I got, the more I could tell there was something wrong with the deer. And the deer had been hit by a car. You could tell this back section was not good. And I don't know if I'll end up posting this, but I've spent a lot of time out there, and I've certainly interacted with that deer before. I'm certain of it. She was, you know, the closer I got, she started to struggle, and she couldn't really walk. She was trying to drag herself away from me, so I just talked peacefully to her, and a lot of light language came out, and I knew that I was there to say goodbye to her and to, you know, help ease her, because she's probably not going to live through it. If she does, it will be very tough for her, probably. Maybe she will, I don't know. I get the sense that there are some timelines where she does, and there are some timelines where she doesn't. And perhaps I'll see her again, and I'm sure I will know her. But there's a few things that come out from this, and it's not about me. It's about why Spirit brought me out there. It's because, you know, that deer got hurt because of human action, and it's okay. It happens, and you know, the deer herself, she wasn't. There was no sense of like complaining or whatever. There was actually a lot of peacefulness around her. Like she kind of knew how this goes. She, you know, she didn't want me to approach, and had fear at that and tried to get away. I didn't get that close. But other than that, there was a sense of this is where I'm going. I'm leaving from here, from this spot. Like I'm going to pass on, and being okay with that, right? Just like, don't disturb me. And there's something sacred about that. And there's also something sacred and important about human beings noticing when things that we have done have affected other creatures, other beings, right? It's not that, see, there's this whole like backlash of like almost this idea that like you know, everything humanity does is evil and hurts everything, and we should just stop everything, right? Like and go back to some romanticized state of living that has plenty of its own problems. And that's not the message. That's not the message that Gaia gives when you're out in unbuilt spaces and she starts to speak to you. When you're beside the waters and she's talking to you, those are not the messages you get from her. The messages you get from her are just have more respect. Like when you hurt another being, you know, even by accident, you know, there's an energetic imbalance there, and you need to acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it. Like, say the words that come to you, feel the feelings that come to you, express those things. And for some of us it goes even deeper, and these are the people that I generally feel that I'm talking to. You feel that deeper, and you know that there's energies at work and there's energies moving, and you have a capacity to take those energies in, to feel them, to embody them, and to help them move where they need to go next in the world. And that's what just happened just now. I was there to help, you know, this other being on her way, and to acknowledge the human part of it, like the human impact literally on this deer, and to help those energies move, and to move in peace, not to move in distress, in you know, any kind of begrudging spirit, but instead to move in a greater consciousness, a greater awareness, and to even invite, you know, the spirit of that doe who was hurt, to move on to, you know, her excuse me, her next life, in a way that doesn't have to revisit that trauma and that wound, you know, to at least to the limited extent as possible, because we carry wounds with us from life to life, from that, like, the energy carries signatures of these things. And this is the thing that we're not doing. This is the thing that, and you know, again, I'm kind of going on what might feel like an anti-Christian bit of messaging lately, but it is true that the Christian way of looking at the world doesn't acknowledge, right, like this being has a spirit that's going to move on and re-embody and possibly carry things from its previous lives, and then also then diminishes humanity, because we have a capacity, and some of us more and some of us less, but we all have a capacity to acknowledge that, to be conscious of that, and to help those energies move, and to do better, to be more respectful, right? To be more respectful of the world that we create around us and the impacts of that world on other beings, and to minimize those impacts. And then when we see those impacts have actually fallen and have hurt something, that we can do something about it. And it's a spiritual thing. It doesn't have to be always like we change everything we do. Sometimes it should be that we change things that we do and how we do them. But in this case, it was just a matter of being there, of witnessing, of seeing, and of letting that hurt flow in, and carrying that hurt with that being. And this goes back to very old ways that most of humanity has lost. Ways of respect, where yes, you eat an animal, but you respect the animal that had a spirit, is spirit, not had a spirit, like the spirit is something that, like, yeah, well, whatever, that's a whole other topic. Anyway, this is pretty raw. It's still pretty raw for me. Ultimately, it's an invitation for anyone who sees this, and like, if you don't resonate with it, then by all means don't stick around, because this is where I am, this is who I am, this is what's going to be going on, and it's not going to be more or less of it, it's going to be more of it, and more of us need to get back to these understandings. And the more we do that, the more we can shift energies in the world back towards human beings living with other beings, and having that energy exchange be there and be respectful. That's what we need to move toward. That's what's going to bring about something like a golden age on the earth, is the more of humanity that can get back to those understandings, and it's just everything. It's like, yes, cut that tree down if you need to, but acknowledge that tree, right? Acknowledge its being, acknowledge that it was present there, acknowledge that it has had a life here, and that it has had impacts. Like, don't just cut it down and not care. Right? Acknowledge it. Make sure that wood gets used for something, right? Make sure that whether it's firewood or it gets processed into something. Like, don't just, if it's just scrubby, brushy bushes, that's one thing, right? If it's a really great big old tree or something, like, don't just, be respectful. More of this is needed, and then be respectful in the way of helping more trees to grow, cut one down, plant 3 more type of things. All of this will make the world a different place, and the more that we all do it, the more that we all engage with the world in different ways. It has the capacity to change everything. It has the capacity to change us in ways that we need to change. And I don't like the word change very often. It's more about growth, right? We need to grow in certain ways. We're stunted in some ways, and this whole thing brings out a way that we tend to be stunted. And so, I mean, to the extent, like, I don't pass roadkill at this point without saying words over it, like, whatever that being was, that being leaves an energy signature there, and an animal that dies in that way undergoes a lot of fright, a lot of trauma very quickly, and that leaves energy, and it's a tough energy. It's a kind of prickly energy, and we can do things about that. It isn't the energy that we want to have, right? We don't want to have that energy around us, and yet we leave it around us. We literally just leave it on the road, and everyone drives by it. And so we need to have a different understanding of these things. And it doesn't mean you have to stop and cry at every blade of grass, right, that you step on. That's not. There are different beings and different modes of being in the world, and some of them are more, what's the word, like literally like grass, you know, there's just so much of it and it grows everywhere. Like it's a collective. Like you can't kill grass by killing one blade. So it just doesn't witness itself that way, so you don't need to witness it that way. But you know, an animal, a deer, any creature that, you know, moves around like that has its own being in a more individual way, that it is aware of that. I don't agree with any kind of science that says that, you know, animals are not aware of themselves. That's not the case. Anybody who's looked into the eyes of various different animals, you just no, there is complete awareness there. And I would even argue at times more awareness than human beings have sometimes we're so aware of so much that we lose the sense of ourselves, whereas a lot of these creatures are the opposite. They're very, very, very aware of themselves as beings and their place in the world, and they're very at peace with that and accepting of that place in the world. And that does not describe a lot of human beings, right? There's a huge epidemic of that being a problem in the world. So in any case, again, I don't think I quite got this part of the message out, but this is an invitation where if you get this, again, if you've already clicked off, you don't care, fine. If you're still listening and you get this, then you're the type of person that we need to talk. We need to work together, and I'm interested in that. So because there are ways that we can build each other up. There are ways we can form up in community and networks, literally all across the planet, and this is what we need. I spoke on this back in 2023. I started a little venture back in 2023 that immediately stalled, and it stalled because I wasn't ready. I wasn't who I needed to be at that time. I've had to grow in certain ways, and that growth has been happening, and I'm here now, and I at least am on the steps of something, heading up to a place where, okay, now we can do this. Now I can do this. Now I can be a part of this. And I trust that there are others who are also in that same boat, that you understand this at a deep level. You understand that we have to, there's an aspect of humanity. There are different types of people in humanity, and a certain type is an energy mover, an energy cleanser, an energy healer, is very empathic, and this type of person has been called a lot of things to be demonized. You know, witches, for instance. Shamans sometimes get more respect, but in a lot of old literature, not really, right? It's, you know, the shaman / witch doctor, right? Like there's this like sort of feeling about how that gets talked about, but that is a capacity that humanity needs. Humanity needs people in those capacities working and doing their thing. And a lot of us have a capacity for that, but we don't know how to do it. We don't know, and a lot of times we're folks like that are so filled with just feeling everything so strongly that we don't even know what to do with it. And you know, I trust that a lot of us have been healing that, and we've been finding our way back to these things. And the ultimate answer is not to like, oh, you know, try to rediscover historically what these types of people were in human society, because that was for its own time and place. We are in a new time and place where we need to figure this out for now. We need to figure this out for 2025 and 2026 and 2027 and going on. And we can literally remake the planet this way by enough of us who are sensitive getting together And it's going to start small. And literally, for me, it's going to start with finding 3 people to work with. And that's what's coming. It's still coming, still on the way. So yeah, I don't know if this was news from Not So Far North or not. If it was to you, then congratulations, you've heard it. I'm sending you much love and peace and all the light you can stand. Always feel free to reach out to me if any of this resonates and you want to talk about it. If you need to talk about it, it can be hard to find people to talk about with these types of things. So, all right, bye-bye.